Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dream Leapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole. So very happy to be with you today. Hope you are doing well. Hope you've been spending your time wisely, making smart choices. That's something that I tell my daughter every day: make smart choices. And I was thinking about it over the past week. It has been really busy. I wonder if it's been busy for you. I spoke to someone some years ago who said even our elders will say they're busy and sometimes too busy. They just got so much on their schedules that the juggle is real. Is that true for you? Do you feel extra busy? Do you feel like your day is so filled that you don't really have time to accomplish all the things that are on your list? Maybe it's not true for you, but I'm going to tell you that most of the people I know at every age, in every age group, demo, place in the country, place in the world, people generally tell me that their plate is full, that they have so many things on their list of things to do that it can be difficult getting them all done. And so if that's you, know that you're not alone. You are in very good company because most of us have that experience. I definitely am one of them. And this weekend, I had a moment. We drove to Baltimore to visit my family, which was the best. Hadn't seen my mom in a long time. We've seen each other on FaceTime and talked to each other almost every day, but there's nothing like being able to hug and just sit and be together. It was absolutely lovely. And also a big effort to drive. And this time I drove the whole way. My husband was tired, and so I drove. And by the time we got there, I was not feeling 100%. And I realized, I have pushed a little too hard. Has that ever happened to you? I'm laughing because I think most of us push a little too hard. And I spoke to my cousin who said to me that sometimes she worries about me and my sister. She says, "You are always going, always doing, always pushing. And sometimes you need to pause." And this was an obvious thing to hear and also something so incredibly important. And that's why I decided to bring it to this table, to all of us who we come together for a pause, right? We come together so that we can step back, evaluate how are we living our lives? What are we doing that makes sense? What are we doing that doesn't make sense? What choices do we need to make in order to live more fulfilled life? And how can we inspire one another in order to do that? That's why we come together for Dream Leapers Inspiration. And my cousin said the obvious: it's time for you to pause. Slow down for a minute, girl. I don't know what it is. Something inside of me says, keep pushing, keep moving. Even as I know the tools of pausing and resting and rejuvenating are essential, I don't always do it. And so I ended up doing it because I needed to. I didn't feel so good. We were in a beautiful setting, and it was the perfect place to pause and just be and be able to reset. As I was doing that resetting, I thought about choices. And we talk about choices a lot on Dream Leapers Inspiration. And as I began, I tell my daughter all the time, make smart choices. And why would you want to do that? Why is that important? Even if she's young, carefree, living her life, exploring, becoming a woman. Why make smart choices? Well, because every choice that you make impacts your life, whether it was a conscious choice or not. Every choice you make impacts your life. And I don't know that we think about that as we grow older. I don't know when we think about it on a regular basis. I happen to know that it's true. Our choices, good or bad, right or wrong, help to define who we are and the life that we lead, because everything is a choice. I play this. it's, I don't know if you call it a video game. A game is an app. It's like a home building app on the phone, and home design app, and it's just a fun sort of mindless thing to do. But I was playing it this weekend, and one of the things that happens is you have a blank slate. You have the structure of a room, say, and instructions on the type of room that you're going to design. And then lots of choices. And I'll pick this color for the wall. I'll pick this type of flooring. I'll pick this type of rug, this type of sofa, this plant, this ceiling light, this desk light and desk chair, whatever you go. It goes on and on. Each element you must choose. And usually you have a range of options from which to choose. And depending on which you choose, you create a room that looks a particular way. I love it just because it's mindless in a sense, but not really. It's fun. It's also all about choices. And you get to see, oh, if I could put anything I wanted based upon the uh, elements in front of me, the options in front of me, what would I choose and what would it look like? Isn't that what life is like? Isn't that what your life is right now? A collection of choices. You have made thousands, millions of choices up to this point. Now look around, look at your life. Do you like what you see? Are the choices that you've made reflective of what you wish they would be or not? In that list of choices, are there regrets? And I'm going to say I interviewed tons of people about their lives. And usually, when I ask the question if you have any regrets, they say, oh no, everything is the way it is because I wouldn't have learned X if I hadn't done Y. True. And I'm going to say most of us have some kind of regrets. There's something that, well, if I could have done it differently, I would have. I have a list. I have a list of things. Had I done them differently, I'd be interested to see what would happen. Like on that game, if I don't want to have that room look the way that it does, I could erase everything and start over. But even in a game like that, it costs. It costs time, and then some of these games actually cost money. They draw you in, and then if you want to keep playing and get to the next level, well, $4.99 and you can get there. Or you want this bundle and it costs however many dollars, they get you. What about your life? How does it get you? What happens if you build, you make tons of choices, you realize, that choice wasn't so good, but you're 10 more choices down the line, and you're like, well, if I change it, it's too costly. It's the turning things around and making it different too much for me to unravel, dismantle, whatever it is in order to get to where I wish it would be. And so a lot of times we have to live with choices because we think that the cost of dismantling it, taking it apart, and putting it back together again differently is too high. Have you ever had that experience? I certainly have. So there's a quote, my quote is make smart choices. That is, I live by that. I recognize when I don't do it. I teach that to my daughter. But also, there's a quote, I always like to find them from Graham Brown. And Graham Brown says, life is about choices. Some we regret, some we're proud of. Some will haunt us forever. We are what we chose to be. Right? Let me repeat that. Life is about choices. Some we regret, some we're proud of, and some will haunt us forever. The message, we are what we chose to be. That is deep to me and obvious, but a lot of these things are really obvious. Yes, life is about choices. Every minute of every day, you're making a choice. You make a choice in the morning whether you're going to get up or not, whether you're going to bathe or not, what you're going to eat, what you're going to put in your body, what you're going to do with your body. You're going to move your body. Are you going to tend to whatever your life says you're supposed to do? or you're going to be distracted. What do you do with your time on a moment by moment basis? Literally, you make choices whether you realize it or not. And some of those choices we regret, Graham Brown says. Yes, you would not be human if every choice you made was perfect. I'm sorry, it's just not how it works. Some of the choices that we make, we regret. Sometimes we have to live with those regrets. Sometimes we just have to say, okay, I made that mistake. I have to live with it. Now what can I do? Now how can I be different? How can I be better? What can I do or say that can make my life more whole, more in alignment with whatever I believe and need? How can I mend a regret? Just ignoring it usually is not the way, but also wallowing in it is not the way. If you have a regret, something you did or said or thought, and it's crippling you, you have to figure out how to move on. Sometimes that's getting professional help. Sometimes that's picking yourself up and moving out of a situation that is unhealthy, right? Sitting in it, wallowing in a regret, I know that that is not something that's going to help you. Some, Graham Brown says, some we're proud of. Some of our choices we can herald. Some we can share with others. And even more, we share with ourselves. We acknowledge that we did something good for ourselves, for the people in our world, for the planet. We did something good. I want to say to you, a lot of people don't give themselves even a beat, a moment, a breath to acknowledge, that was good. My cousin, my young cousin, just graduated from high school this weekend. And it was delayed. He didn't finish on time. There were all kinds of things that stood in his way. He stood in his way. And then something clicked. A lot of love and support around him, but he had to figure it out on his own. He had to make the choices to move past whatever those stumbling blocks were, whatever the regrets were, whatever stood in the way of him completing something that is absolutely essential for him to move forward in his life. It took him a long minute, and it happened. So he repaired what was a regret. He took the steps needed in order to check a box that, sometimes there are boxes that are important to check, so that he has the freedom to move on and discover what's next for his life. And we are so proud of him for making that choice and for being able to walk across that stage really with the best sense of satisfaction, that it may have taken him longer than he wanted, longer than is the so-called norm, but he did it. So he made a smart choice. It may have been a delayed choice, but it was a smart choice. Why do I mention that? Because whose timing is it for these choices? It's got to be your timing. You do things for yourself in your time. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a timeline that perhaps you should be following based upon whatever you value. But in the end, this is your life. You are responsible for your life. Nobody else is. You are. Whether you are coming of age and making choices as a young adult, whether you are in mid-stride in your life, whether you're an elder, wherever you are, if you are no longer a child under your parents' supervision, you are responsible for yourself. And as a child, hopefully your parents are teaching you how to make smart choices, so that when you get to the point of being able to make independent choices, you're not just running from whatever they taught you, you're running toward the values that have been instilled in you. You're running in alignment with those values that say, this is how I choose to live. So what does Graham Brown say? Life is about choices. Some we regret, some we're proud of, Some will haunt us forever. Some will haunt us forever. The message, we are what we chose to be, right? Think about that for a second. Some will haunt us forever. We don't want that. I'm here to tell you, I have a couple of choices that I've made that every now and then pop up in my consciousness. And I'm like, that was dumb. Dumb. I should have made a different decision. What in the world was in my head that allowed me not to make the obvious decision that was in front of my face? Why didn't I listen to the people I respect who said, think about that a little differently, Harriet? I bet you have something like that if you tell yourself the truth, that there's something that you could have done differently that would make a better outcome today for your life. So Graham Brown says, some of these decisions will haunt us forever. I can attest to the fact that there's at least one that when I allow myself to think about it, it haunts me. So I'm not dwelling on that. I'm dwelling on the life I have now and what I can do to make it the best that it can be. Every now and then, this other situation where I could have made a smarter decision pops up. And it does haunt me. And it reminds me, when you don't make smart choices, you have to live with the repercussions. What about you? Do you have anything like that? Something that haunts you on occasion? If it does, this is where meditation comes in. This is where a contemplation and looking for perspective. How can I look at this differently? What can I learn from my mistakes? I know a couple of people, and you probably do too, who have made some bad decisions and ended up in jail. And not because the system was against them, because they made a wrong decision and should have been reprimanded, and served time. One person in particular, after coming out and working on his life, has said to me, I learned. I had to pay. I had to pay for my mistakes. I was wrong. I didn't think I should have had to pay, but I was there long enough to work through it and to decide, okay, I have to make better choices when I get the chance to have freedom. And I'm proud to say that's exactly what he's doing. That's not always what happens, but I can assure you that the decisions he made that got him locked up will haunt him forever. But the counter decision to change his life, to step into his greatness despite the things that happened beforehand, those things he will never lose. If he keeps exercising that muscle of, I'm going to be the best person I can be. I'm going to make choices that are smarter than the choices that I made in the past. Because Graham says the message here is we are what we chose to be. And if you put it in present tense, we are what we choose to be. Right now, we have a choice. What will you choose to do today that makes you proud of yourself, that propels you forward? Think about it. I want you to think about this. Honestly, think about it. What choice can you make today? It can be the simplest little thing, but a choice that you can live by that will improve your life, even if it's just the tiniest little increment. What might that be? You may choose to drink more water. You may choose to stretch. You may choose to walk a mile. Like my friend Sekou, you may choose to run a mile every day. He running a mile every day, even after having had a stroke, and now he's in recovery mode. He's still running. What will you do for yourself, no matter what the impediments are? What choice can you make today for you? I want you to think about that. This is for you. This is nobody else's homework. But Graham Brown says, life is about choices. Some we regret, some we're proud of. Some will haunt us forever. And so the message is we are what we chose to be. And I'm going to put it in the present tense. We are what we choose to be. What do you choose to be? Who do you choose to be? What choice can you make right now in order to sweeten your life? Now, I think of something that I tell my staff and everyone who I've ever interviewed to work with me, that one of the things that is not a choice is about disposition. Everyone who works with me, I require that we be pleasant, that just our attitude is one of positivity, of pleasantness, that even in the most challenging of times, that we keep a genuine smile on our face, that we treat each other well, that we treat everyone well, that even when people are not doing right by us, we treat them well, we debrief, we regroup, we figure out how to move forward with the best disposition possible. I learned that from my mother. It's how she lives. And it I think sweetening your life with kindness, with softness, even when you have to be strong too, with a disposition that is welcoming, makes all the difference in the world. That is a choice I make every single day. It's part of my DNA. What choice will you make to sweeten your life? What are the smart choices that may be tough, but ultimately that will sweeten your life? That's what you should be looking for right now. I encourage you to do it. It's worth it because you're worth it. Make smart choices. You deserve it. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.